Damien ruins horror movies.
We're starting Christmas off a little early this year with a movie from 2009, as you already know, probably, I assume, because you clicked on this. Thank you for clicking on this episode of Damien Ruins Horror Movies. My name is Damien. Tonight's movie is called Silent Night, Zombie Night. And it sounds cheesy, I know. But actually, this movie's actually not that bad. It's not even that B. I think it goes out of its way to kind of be B. And it starts right off. It does a good job of like getting to the action. Because in the first 3 minutes before the opening credits, it starts off with this woman, Sarah. She's getting into her car, and she is like sitting there, and then another woman walks up to the window. Looks old enough, like it could be her mom, but I have no, other than maybe an age difference, I have no reason to believe it's her mom, because I don't remember her saying, "Hey mom, I just got to get away." But she talks about leaving her husband, and that's why she's in the car. She's getting ready to leave, and then this figure tackles mom person thing, takes her down, and Sarah's like, "Oh!" And then we switch scenes, and we meet these two police officers on patrol, Nash and Frank, and they're talking because they're like, oh, Nash is all bitter because apparently Frank punched him the week before, like in his face at something, and he's like, "Yeah, I want a new partner. I don't want to be your partner anymore." And remember, these guys have been friends for a long time. They're really good friends, and they've been friends longer than they've been cops together. But Nash is like, "I'm tired of your shit, dude. I'm out, and I think by next week I should have a new partner, and you're on your own. You get your own partner." And Frank's like, "All right." And just then, outside of the car, they run into an old guy in a wheelchair. Not that old. He's not like, but an older gentleman in a wheelchair rolls up, and they're like, "Hey, whoa, what happened?" Because his hand's bleeding. Actually, it looks like his hand was like missing. It's just blood. He's like, "Oh, I got bit." Like, really? By who? "Oh, some girl came by and bit me. She ran off. She went that way." They're like, "All right, well, we'll go find her." So Frank and Nash run after her, or run in that general direction looking for her. And they get to like a house, and they go inside, and they get ambushed by her because she jumps down. She attacks Nash and like goes for his foot, and she's got his foot in her mouth, and she's just like biting him, but he's got boots on, and his boots are apparently not steel toe. But he's like, "Frank," and it kind of looks like Frank's like, because Frank's got his gun out and he's watching him. He's like, "I'll let her nibble for a little bit. And he's like, "Frank," he's like, "Okay, I'll shoot her." And then he shoots her and kills her. And back to Sarah. She looks outside. It's a person, and the person's like eating the face of the woman she was once talking to, who's on the ground, who may or may not be her mother. And she's like, "Oh my god." And the person just, because the person is a zombie. And then the opening credits begin, and there's a montage of zombies and the breakout, and it shows like all this different stuff happening. And the zombies actually don't look too bad, considering that the movie may or may not be low budget. It wasn't a popular movie. I don't think the director, Sean Kane, has done a lot of zombie movies previous. And the zombies actually don't look too bad, considering, because it doesn't have a B movie look, but it doesn't have like a high production value either. But the zombies look decent, especially considering that most of this movie takes place in the daylight, that's a bold move. It's like, I've never done a zombie movie before, but you know what? This is going to take place in the day, because there's night scenes too, but it's only night for a little bit. So when we get back to the movie, it's like the opening of Reservoir Dogs. Not the restaurant scene. The part in the car with Harvey Keitel, where he's got Tim Roth in the back, Mr. White and Mr. Orange. Except this is Frank driving, and Nash is in the back of the car screaming, oh, I've been shot. He shot me. And at first I was like, he didn't shoot you. you got bit by a zombie. But then it's revealed later. Not really revealed. It's not like a big thing. But when he was trying to shoot the zombie, he accidentally shot him in the foot. I don't know if it was an accident or not, because he did take a sweet ass time. Then he shot him in the foot. Then he killed the girl. But it did sound funny at first thing. It's like, why are you quoting Reservoir Dogs when you're in serious pain? I mean, you didn't get shot. Because that would be funny if, like, you got bit by a zombie, your friend saves you, and then he's driving and you're in pain. You're like, this would be a good time to quote Reservoir Dogs, because it feels just like that. I'm in the back seat, you're in the front seat. Remember that? You say your line, like, you're going to be okay. Say the fucking words. But he actually did shoot him. Oh, I forgot to mention, because Sarah had a baseball bat in her car. So she beat that zombie that was attacking her mom, or whoever that woman was. Like, she beat the shit out of her. She, like, hit her with that bat. Like, either that zombie's really strong or Sarah's really weak, but she hit that zombie like 10 times. From there, she went to Nash's house, and that's where Frank and Nash are pulling up, and Frank's kind of like, oh, fancy meeting you here. And they go inside and immediately zombie-proof the house, which, it's not a house, it's an apartment. Second level, so that's a plus. Nash is, like, passed out in pain. When it turned out, like, Frank shot off his toe or something, because he, like, shuffles his shoe out and it's like a toe falls out, which is like, wasn't he wearing socks? But he passes out, but he cauterized, he got a knife hot on the stove and, you know, did the side of the hot blade, which is funny because he waited so long. He's like, all right, you take care of him and I'll be right back. And he gets the knife hot and he's standing there for a long time. Like, in real time, that would have been like 20 minutes. Like, that knife is not, pretty sure you got to take it pretty much from the heat source to the owie. You can't just be like, all right, cool, I got 30 minutes to cauterize them. It's like, no, you don't. You got about 30 seconds to a minute. Not that I've ever done it before. I don't think the guy who wrote this movie did either. Once Nash has passed out, Frank and Sarah have it out. Because after all, Sarah's planning to leave Frank. Frank is the man that she was going to leave. They have it out. And Frank, because Frank is jealous and he's an asshole. He's a prick. And the movie does a pretty good job of showing it, even up to this point. And it's funny because he starts out like kind of unlikable, kind of a dick, but then as the movie goes on, his scenes get more and more ridiculous. Where it's like, what is up with this dude? It's like this movie's not that B as far as acting goes, except for him. And the more it goes, and he makes weird references to like things from my childhood, like, it's like, that's right, Virginia, there is no Santa Claus. Oh, because it's also revealed that, and this is the only thing that feels, other than a Santa Claus zombie, which is a very small part, and other than the title, it's also revealed that it's a week before Christmas. Other than that, there's nothing in this movie that makes it feel like Christmas. And granted, it does take place in LA, so of course it's not a white Christmas. But there's no Christmas feel in this movie. It's funny when movies are like, let's take advantage of this holiday by making the title about the holiday. It's like, well, if you're going to take advantage of the holiday, you know, string up a few Christmas lights, put a tree in some of the houses. Some of them might. There was references to Christmas, but it's not the feel. It's kind of like, it's like the original Black Christmas. You watch it, it's like, this is an awesome movie. This is great. It's ahead of its time. But it's like, why'd they call it Black? Why'd they make it Christmassy if they weren't going to make it Christmassy? Because it's not Christmassy at all. That was the only thing that the first remake, the lame one from like 2009 or whatever, that was the only thing better about it was, it's like, well, at least they took in stride that it took place on Christmas, and they like made it seem Christmassy, so it actually felt like if it came out on Christmas and you would watch it, you were watching a Christmas movie that happened to be horrifying. And sucked, but wasn't completely terrible. But it's just one of the, that early 2000s remake, origin remakes, where this is why Billy was killing everybody, and here's what Billy looks like, and we made up this thing about him. I won't give anything away. I'm not gonna assume you've seen it just because it's like 14 years old. There's a lot of 14-year-olds I haven't seen. Darkness falls. Nash is still out. But somehow... I don't know, it's weird because, like, Frank finds out because he's like, have you been fucking Nash? It's like, why are you here? Why are you here when we got here? Were you sleeping with him? She's like, doesn't matter. Blah. She never says yes or no, so it's kind of that. If you're not saying yes or no, you're obviously denying it. The night falls. We get more montage of zombies. There's slow zombies and there's fast zombies, and then in the morning, Frank and Sarah are a couple of little lovebirds. They're just like, oh, he's like, oh, makeup sex is the best. Sometimes I love fighting just for the makeup sex. And they're a couple of lovebirds. Like, we're going to need food soon. Which is funny because they never make a food run. But he spends the next, 5 minutes of the movie being like, well, if we don't get food, we're going to be fucked. We need to go. I need to go out there. He's like the guy in the movie that's like, can't stay in the house. He's always got every reason to leave. Even though he has every reason to stay. If anything, it should be like, let's get Nash up on his feet. He's the loner. He's got nobody except for us. Send his ass out there. Send the husband that you just made up with. But then it turns out that she wasn't cheating on him at all. She wasn't sleeping with Nash. She was on her way to Nash's house because Nash knew that she was going to leave Frank. And so he was like, well, come talk to me first. Which is weird because they're on shift. So it's like, how long were you going to hang out at his house in his driveway? But he's like, come talk to me first because he was going to try and talk her out of leaving Frank. So now Frank looks like an even bigger dick. Or he's just like, oh, I have no idea what's going on. It's like, no, I'm not leaving you for another guy. I'm leaving you because you're a fucking prick. You should change that. And he doesn't. They go and check on Nash and he's waking up. And he's like, how long was I out? And I think they said like a day and a half. He's like, oh, Jesus. And so Frank suddenly realizes, he's like, hey, I just remembered. And he goes right to, this part's weird now that I think about it. He goes to Nash's top drawer, like what would probably be his underwear drawer. And he opens it and he's like, pulls out this bottle. It's like, remember that hunting trip I took you on? He pulled out this can of odor remover. Like it removes your natural body odor so that when you're hunting, the animals can't smell you. He's like, this will come in. It's like, how? First of all, why does he keep that in there? And why do you know that he keeps that in there? Like, do you hang out with him in his bedroom? You guys, is there a TV? You play video games in there? What's going on? I'm sure he doesn't have a garage, but it seems like there'd be a better place he would keep that. But Frank's theory is, because he's like, I've been watching. He's like, suddenly he knows everything about these creatures, these monsters. And he's like, the snow ones. They're pretty much blind in the dark. I think they're going by smell. The fast ones, that's a different story. But I think if I spray enough of this on me, I can walk right past them and they won't even know I'm there. So he sprays it on him and he goes outside and with a baseball bat. Actually, not a baseball bat. I think it's a shotgun. Then he just starts clubbing them like baby seals. Little zombie baseball. And now that Nash is awake, him and Sarah are like, well, he's like, hey, Sarah, you know what else is in that drawer? I have some Vicodin in there. She's like, oh, yeah? He's like, yeah, can you give me some? He's like, oh, and there's there's a bottle of whiskey right there. It's like a full bottle. He's like, can you give me that to wash it down? Actually, no. He already had that whiskey out because he was drinking that when he was going to get cauterized. And so, being cauterized almost sounds like something cool happening to you. So he washes the Vicodin down with some whiskey. And him and Sarah start having a little heart-to-heart. And she starts drinking the whiskey. I don't think she had any Vicodin. And they drink that bottle pretty fast. Because you can see, based on the flashing from them talking to Frank running around and beating zombies and trying to find other people who are not zombies. It's like, okay, what Frank's doing is not taking that long. And you guys probably haven't been talking. Your conversation hasn't escalated that much. But the alcohol in that bottle is, and finally they get to there's that much left, and this isn't like they're sharing wine or malt liquor. This is straight up like a bottle of whiskey. Sarah's like, oh, I'll have it. And she like just chugs it down. And he's like, right on. She's like, man, no, I really wish you had more. And at the same time, they're both like dead sober. It's like Jesus Christ, I don't know which one of you is worse. Like, because it looks like Nash knows how to party. He's got this little supply of Vicodin, got a bottle of Jim Beam or whatever. And now Sarah's like, yeah, party too. Like, when are you partying that you were just getting mad at Frank? She's getting mad at Frank for being a jackass. That's part of the, not in the movie, but that was one of her reasons for, like, I can't stand you anymore because you're a prick and you act like an idiot when you're drunk. And like, they don't actually show it, but it's like, usually I think when a girl, I don't know, a lot of times when a girl thinks a guy's an ass when he's a drunk, it's because she's sober. So it's like, but obviously you're getting down with this guy, so what's up with that? She's like, I wish you had another bottle. He's like, yeah, me too. He's like, actually, you know what? I do. So he pulls out another, it's like the exact same bottle. They open it and they start playing drinking games. They're playing drinking games together while Frank's out there risking his life, not looking for food, but looking for other people for whatever reason. Frank finally finds a house. He goes in, he finds an attic. Well, he finds like the pull down ladder thing. He goes up the attic and there's a dude up there with his dying son who's not conscious. Guy's name's Jeff, and he lives there. He's like, oh, wow, you're a cop? I haven't seen anybody in a while. It's like, okay, you're not a zombie. You're obviously not one of them. What's wrong with your kid? Oh, he got bit. He's like, oh. He's like, I'm just staying up here with him. So if you want to leave, that's cool. I'm just staying. It's my kid. He's all I got left. So he's like, all right, can I have a look at him? I think he actually denied the bite. He was like, he's just not feeling good, and I'm just staying up here with him, trying to protect him. He's like, can I have a look? Like, no, I prefer... You know, but meanwhile, the drinking game ensues, and Nash is like, oh, I really wish I could kiss you. And then they start kissing. After all that shit about, oh, you're sleeping with him. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. And it's kind of like a, yes, okay, I did. Oh, and then they get mad, and then it's fine. No, I didn't. And everything's good. Nash is off the hook. They can be friends again. Except for I did punch him a week ago. And now it's like, oh, I want to make out with you. Okay. Oh, and they're making out. So again, why not? You guys are going to die. I mean, that's not a spoiler. That's my assumption. So yeah, you're in a zombie movie. If you got any urges left, take them. Because your days are numbered. And I think everybody will understand that, right? I mean, I wouldn't understand. I'd be like, well, I can't believe you did that. But I understand other people. So eventually Nash heads over. Because Frank's been gone for a while. So Nash heads over, finds Jeff's house. Go figure. How convenient. Because it's not like Jeff lives next door or across the street. He's down and around the corner. But that's the first place Nash finds, which is not really lit up. Because he's hiding in the attic. He goes in just as Frank is coming down. And Frank's like, oh shit. And shoots him right in the head. And Nash is down. And Frank's like, oh shit. Frank goes back to the house. And in the morning he tells Sarah. And it's funny because she doesn't necessarily believe him. But he's trying to explain. It's like, it really was an accident. Like, there was something in there. I'm ready for zombies to come in. I didn't know it was him. Oh, and it turns out, like, Nash shot him too. He like pulled up his shirt. It's like, yeah, I got shot. I shot back. But he was ready for zombies. So it really wasn't like he's like, oh. It wasn't like he saw him out the window. It's like, oh, Nash is coming in. I'm going to kill him. Like, it was a legit accident. After another coma, Nash wakes up in Jeff's attic. And how the fuck Jeff got Nash up those stairs? It's the pull down attic. Fold out. Crickety crack. How do you pull a grown man up? He hasn't eaten in weeks. Gets him up there. Nurses him back to health. Bandages his head. Because it turns out Nash isn't dead. Oh, it's just a flesh wound that puts you in a coma. Your third coma of the movie, by the way. Pussy. Now he's all better. Just gotta get back to the house where Sarah is. And Frank. Just then, at Nash's house, where Frank and Sarah are, it's like a Hummer. A Hummer pulls up. people pop out with like body armor and helmets and Uzis and start gunning down zombies. And of course, the first house they find is Nash's house, where Frank and Sarah are. And they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? You guys alive? We want to come in." It's like, "Yeah, we want to make sure you're friendly. I want to make sure you're friendly." You know, your typical, like, anybody in a zombie apocalypse situation is like, "How do I trust you? How do I know I can trust you?" So eventually they go in and they're talking, and the guy, Paul, he's like, "All right." Oh, and the girl, because there's like 30 minutes of the movie at this point. And the girl is Felissa Rose, Angela from Sleepaway Camp. This is post-Dick, though, 2009. There's 4 of them total. 2 of them are waiting down in the car. And then there's Felissa and Paul. And they give them the rundown. And they're like, "All right, well, here's the deal. We're running around. We're doing recon. We're trying to find people who haven't been infected. We have a place to take them. We're hiding everybody out of the Burbank airport. People are living in planes because there's plenty of runway, open field. It's gated. And if we need to take off, we can go." Which is kind of a neat idea. I haven't heard that before. And if you have, then I'm lame for not having heard it before. But because I've heard about like Costco, shopping malls, prisons, but like an airport, that's kind of a neat idea. Because like, you know, you just take, if things get too hairy, you just, all right, start the plane, and you just get the hell out of there. Granted, planes are uncomfortable, but depending on how many people are on the planes, you can modify it. You don't have to, "Oh, everybody stick to your seating chart." It's like, no, just get rid of this row and that row and cut off the armrests. B movie's starting to redeem itself. Or the almost B movie. They want to take Frank and Sarah along with them, but Frank and Sarah are like, "Well, we're not ready. We got to gather some stuff. Not a lot. We got to get some food," which is funny because they never made the food run. And so Paul's like, "Okay, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna drive. We're gonna make some noise. We're gonna drive up the road, come, turn around, lure those zombies out of there, and then we're gonna come back, double back." Oh, and also Frank had told him about Jeff. He's like, "Jeff lives around the corner. His address is," which is like, why do you know his address? I found a random house with a guy like living in his attic. Like, at what point would I have looked at the address? I'd be like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on in this house. 7705 Maple Drive." Or when you're running for your life, "Oh, I don't think I might have to run. I might have to come back to this house someday at 7705 Maple Drive." Why do you know the address? But then he is a cop, so he's supposed to pay attention to details. So it kind of, I give him a pass. It's like, okay, you know the address. Still kind of weird. You're just keeping track of address. I guess, I don't know, if you're lost, you'd do that. But it's like, it's your friend's house. You've never met Jeff in your life. You have no reason to know his address. You're writing him letters, or planning to? "We got us alive. I'm going to write you a letter. Say, hi, what's up, brother?" So the 2 of them leave, Paul and Felice. But when they get to Jeff's house, Paul and Felice get out. The other 2 wait in the car. They got the motor running. And somehow, like, Paul and Felice get ambushed by zombies. Like, the zombies knew their zombies were like, "All right, Paul and Felice are going to show up at this time from this angle. So I want you 4 to go down there. We're going to go down there. You 2 pretend like you're eating this dude. And then we're going to jump on them when they get in." It's like, you didn't get ambushed. I don't know how you've gone this far and then you get to a house where they just, like, the zombies killed everybody in the car. Well, the 2 guys in the car. And they killed Paul. And then Felice escapes. She runs all the way back, which isn't too far. You know, it's a block and a half around the corner. But she runs all fucked up because she's got shin guards. I hope it's because of the gear she's wearing. I hope it's like, is that how you run? And of course she lives, you know, because she's a bad motherfucker. She's from Sleepaway Camp. And then Paul I wasn't as familiar with, but he's played by Vernon Wells, and he's been in like Commando, Road Warrior, Weird Science, Inner Space. He's an 80s hero who for some reason did this movie. Well, I understand why, but I don't know. It was kind of like the Rob Zombie move. Grab people you grew up watching. It's just The difference is I haven't heard of Sean Kane and I've heard of Rob Zombie. While all this is happening, I think Jeff hears the noise, so he goes down. Nash had tried to help Felice and Paul with no luck, but Jeff came down and he was like, oh, what's going on down there? I'm going to help. And then he ran into a zombie. So he tried to flee, he ends up getting bit. So Nash goes back up there and he's like, what happened? He's like, oh man, you were supposed to stay up here. What? He's like, well, that's okay. He's like, my face got bit. He's got this big gaping hole in his face. He's like, well, we can patch it up. I can take care of you. He's like, no, you can't. My son got bit. I saw what happened. I know what happens. I know what's going to happen. I just wanted to have Christmas with my boy. Because now, suddenly, it's Christmas Day. And he shoots himself in the head. Lisa makes it back to Frank's. And they let her in. And Frank's like, all right, get in the bathroom. Take off your clothes. And she's like, okay. So you're going to watch me? And just when you think there's going to be a sex scene, he's like, yes. Because I don't trust you. And I don't know you haven't been bit. Because you got blood all over you. So get those clothes off and we'll throw them out the window and we'll burn it later. So she strips down, gets a chain of clothes from Sarah, and she moves her arm and he handcuffs her like to the bathroom window. The bars on the window, he handcuffs her to that because the window's open this whole time. Or maybe he just opened it because he threw her clothes out. I don't know. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't trust you. I'm going to go on recon, and if I come back and you're not a zombie, I'll let you go. But until then, you're going to get chained. You're chained in the bathroom. You got everything you need in here. And she's like, you motherfucker. She's mad. So Frank goes out, and he finds Nash. Nash is running from a zombie. Frank kills a zombie. He's like, now we're even, man. And Nash is like, what? And then they have it out like a couple of men. And they're just like, because Nash is kind of like, I'm done with you. And he also explains, like, I had Sarah, because he tells him, I kissed your wife. I kissed Sarah. And she kissed me back. And I love her. And she was at my house that day because I know that's the only way I could have her is if she's with you. And I would rather have that than not have her at all. And so I was going to talk her into staying with you. And he's like, well, you son of a bitch. He's like, wait, you said we were even. He's like, no, we're not even. No, you just kissed my wife. And just then another zombie comes out. And they kind of look at each other. It's like, are you going to shoot him? Are you going to shoot him? And Frank's like, I'm not going to. It's going to eat you before it eats me. And Nash is like, why? He's like, I got that odorless stuff on still. It doesn't even know I'm here. And Nash is like, oh, I see. So when I go to shoot it, you're going to shoot me. That's how you're going to win this little draw. And it gets closer and closer. And Nash shoots and he turns back to Frank. Frank hasn't moved. And he's like, bitch, when I want to kill you, it won't be when your back's turned. I'll just kill you. It's kind of bold. It's kind of like, oh, that's some badass shit to say to somebody. But at the same time, this movie, it's like, and the way Frank says everything is kind of like, come on, dude. And it's funny because then Nash starts talking, and in the middle of his sentence, Frank punches him in his face and drops him. And Nash's like, what was that for? And Frank looks at him and is like, all right, now we're even. And they get up. And just then, back at the house, I know, we're wrapping it up. It's way longer. I thought I'd be done. This is supposed to be half this long. Felice is in the bathroom, and a zombie sticks his hand through the window and grabs her, and he goes to attack her. So Sarah comes out, starts hitting it with the door, because the apartment's that small, to the front door. I don't know what door that is, because there's a stairway. They're on the second floor. So she's hitting it. Then the guys get back, and they're like, what the hell? And so that zombie comes out, and they're like, oh, they start shooting the shit out of it until it gets away from the house. And then suddenly it turns into like a buddy cop movie where it's like, boom, boom, boom. And they're like practically high-fiving each other. And they get it down, and the zombie looks like it's almost done. They're like, should we shoot at the same time? They pull like some Lethal Weapon 2 crap. They're like, all right, on the count of 3. And they're aiming at it. They're like, what? And it's like, oh, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, and then bang? Or 1, 2, bang? It's like, They don't actually say that, but they might as well have. It was that point. I mean, it was that point of high fivemanship. They're like, all right, 1, 2, 3, and they both go click because they're out of bullets at the same time. So then Sarah makes her way down. They're both laying on the ground, including the zombie. And she's like, what happened? And they're laughing. They're like, oh, we got that zombie. We killed that and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, okay, well, what's so funny? We got to just keep moving. They're like, yeah. And then they reveal that they both got bit in the process. Like, Nash got bit on his elbow. And Shane. Who the fuck is Shane? Frank got bit like great. He actually had a gash like this, but it was like that. And he's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm dead. And he's like, oh, wait, look what I just found. He pulls out a magazine with some bullets, and he's like, oh, that would have come in handy 2 minutes ago. And they're like, yeah, good one. Good one, Frank. And they're like, and she's like, what? And then, like, for some reason, even though Nash is gashed on his elbow, he starts turning first. And immediately. Because it's been, 4 minutes since it happened. All of a sudden, he's puking up blood from an elbow bite. And he's kind of silenced by it. And Frank, I think it's just for the sake of the movie. And Frank's just like, oh, well, I know he had some hard times. And they have another heart-to-heart. I don't know how many heart-to-hearts they had in this movie. But this is the final one. He's like, well. And he loads the guy. He's like, you're going to have to kill us. And she's like, but I thought... And they do like the little I love you, and she's got 2 dudes that she loves, and she kills both of them, and then she goes up into the bathroom and say, hey, Felice. That's not really her name in the movie. That's the name of the actress. Felice Rose. She's like, Felice. She tosses her the key. This will help you escape. Let's go. And they hit the road. The end. Bum, bum, bum. The Badass Award goes to Frank. And yes, you can be an asshole and still be the badass because he was still the hero. He was the guy on the move. He was talked about getting food. He came up with solutions. He looked for other survivors, for people he could save. Yeah, he's a shitty person. And it's like one of those people, it's like Hemingway. He's a great writer, but he was a shitty father. That kind of thing. Where it's like, man, everybody loves Hemingway. Really? Not everybody. His kid fucking hates him. It's that sort of thing. Way to go, Frank. Even though he died, you can die and still get it. As long as you're not the bad guy, you can be the Badass Award guy. What did we learn? Survival tales. 1. Shoot the zombies in your yard, not the ones on the other side of the fence. 2. Don't be a jealous asshole. 3. Take just a little bit of time and aim your weapon. Don't just shoot blindly. You only got a certain amount of bullets. If you're worried about food rationing, you're going to run out of bullets probably at the same speed as running out of food. Actually, you'll probably run out of bullets faster. I don't know. They're neck and neck. That's it, guys. Sorry it was so long. See you next time.